Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Entrepreneurship World Cup Special Semifinals Edition. I'm Alec Wright. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at GSV Labs and your host tonight for the first semifinal event in the United States Entrepreneurship World Cup competition. Let's get started and share a little information about what we're doing here tonight. We will be hosting 3 different semifinal events tied to the Entrepreneurship World Cup in the early and growth stage of the U.S. National Finals, which will be occurring on September 9th. Today's event is unique because it's focused on a highly curated group of startups that were selected to pitch at a planned EWC launch event at South by Southwest. But given COVID, South by Southwest was delayed, and we are taking the competition online, and that's what we have here tonight. A great group of companies that we're excited to showcase with you, and hopefully many of which will be advancing to the U.S. National Finals. This is all part of the U.S. competition of the Entrepreneurship World Cup, a global startup competition with 150,000 plus competing startups from hundreds of countries across dozens of different verticals, all competing for $1 million in cash prizes and tens of millions of dollars in in-kind support. None of this would be possible without the organization and support of our partners, the global organizers of the Entrepreneurship World Cup, the Miss Global Forum, the Global Entrepreneurship Network, and T-Golf, the Global Education and Leadership Foundation. We very much want to thank them for all of their support and efforts up until this point. GSV Labs is the national organizer of the U.S. early and growth stage competition, and we are a Silicon Valley-based startup and innovation platform. We work with hundreds of startups in our innovation centers in Silicon Valley and in Boston, and shortly coming soon in Pittsburgh. And we have over 25,000 entrepreneurs that are, engaging on our online platform. Dozens of corporate partners, hundreds of investors, 100+ expert mentors, and nearly $1 million in free or discounted technology services. One of my colleagues is going to share a little bit more information with you about Passport right now. So that is Passport, our virtual innovation center with all the resources that early stage startups need to ultimately be successful. We hope you go and check it out. You can learn more at gsvlabs.com. And with that, we're ready to get into the first semifinal event of the U.S. competition. Again, this is round 1, brought to us by a great group of co-hosts, the Miss Global Forum, the Global Entrepreneurship Network, T-Golf, and then always a special thanks to our national partners in the U.S., Leighton and Brex, that help us bring all of these events to our community of entrepreneurs and founders. We have 8 incredible companies here tonight that will be pitching, and the top 3 will get the opportunity to advance to the U.S. National Finals and compete for $45,000 in cash, and most importantly, the opportunity to advance to the global finals, where there's $1 million in non-dilutive funding that people are going to be able to explore and go after. We have a great group of companies: Sonics Medical Devices, Coherent, PepVax, LanaLearn, Digital Spring, 7 Seas Music, Altus Biosystems, and last but not least, Haptic. And let's take a look at who's going to be judging these companies and evaluating them over the next hour or so. We've put together an incredible group of judges and evaluators: Juan Scarlett, who leads ventures at GSV Labs; Carolyn Levander, the Vice President of Global and Digital Strategy at Rice University; and John McCary, Managing Director of OmniCap and Senior Director at University of North Texas. I want to get started with giving each one of these judges an opportunity to introduce themselves, share a little bit about their background and their experiences, and answer the question, what's so exciting about the entrepreneurship economy and community to them? I'd love to get started with Juan Scarlett from GSV Labs. Hey, Juan.
Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. Again, my name is Juan Scarlett. I'm a venture capital investor based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've spent the last 13 years of my career working in venture capital, and the last 20 years working in public and private technology investing and research. As Alec mentioned, I'm currently working closely with the GSV Labs team on a number of exciting venture capital initiatives. Prior to that, I led the investing efforts for Nimble Ventures, which is an early stage fund that was focused primarily on seed to expansion stage, enterprise SaaS and infrastructure, fintech, automation, robotics, and life sciences companies. Some of our investments include Zora, Periscope Data, which is now Sisense, Oris Robotics, Figure, and Alto Pharmacy. I guess to answer the question, for me, I'm always particularly excited about the sort of the variety of innovative ideas, thoughtful solutions to problems, and generally the incredible level of energy and passion that early stage founders tend to have in their companies and their ideas. It's quite infectious, and just the general opportunity to support their efforts and work with them keeps me excited about my career.
Thank you so much, Juan. Really appreciate it. I'd love to throw it to Carolyn. Do you mind introducing yourself? Hi, Carolyn. Is your video working?
No, I'm afraid it's not. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my screen is frozen. But let me introduce myself briefly. Maybe we can work on troubleshooting the screen situation offline. So, as Vice President for Global and Digital Strategy at Rice, I've overseen the development of a number of new ed tech businesses that have spun out of the university or remained in the university. And I find it really exciting to work with brilliant startup pioneers who are envisioning really remarkable new ways of creating value in the world. Entrepreneurship is the process of discovering new ways of combining resources. And I find that a really exciting endeavor to undertake and encourage. I've certainly seen that happen in the ed tech space more generally with the creation and growth of businesses like edX and Coursera. And in fact, I'm writing a book right now on American genius and innovation in the space. So I'm very happy to be here tonight and looking forward to 8 great projects.
Wonderful, Carolyn. Thank you so much. And if you have an issue, by all means, perhaps just drop out and drop back in, and we'll get it figured out. I'd love to throw it over to John from the University of North Texas. Do you mind giving a little bit of background on your experience and what brings you to the entrepreneurship community?
Sure. So I've been in ever since I left the military, 17 plus years ago. I started off in venture with a family office in Hong Kong, and got to see a lot of interesting technology. My original background was in physics coming out of university. So always had a deep passion for technology, as well as bringing concepts to market. After the MBA, got involved in secondary private equity, and then after moving back to the U.S., really wanted to get back involved in venture, specifically in Texas, where we're pretty much from the area, and have just been really blown away more recently over the last couple of years by just the sheer amount of startups, as well as finally some private capital starting to get into the space. And so we've been just really happy with the way things have been progressing in the area. I came on board with University of North Texas 2 years ago to really help them, to be a part of this process. And we had our first couple of spin-outs come out over the last year, and we're just really excited to not only be part of the environment, but continue to contribute.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, John. And thanks to all three of our judges for being here with us today. We're really excited to get a sense of your perspective on these companies as they get started pitching. And with that, we're ready to get into the pitches. This is, again, the semifinal round one. Each startup is going to have 3 minutes to pitch and then 3 to 4 minutes of Q&A where our judges will be able to ask them some questions. Again, a reminder to all of you, use the chat. We're going to do our best to get audience questions in and give the entrepreneurs a chance to answer those. So please, if there are burning questions, don't hesitate to ask them. The judges will then evaluate these companies. And after a couple minutes at the end of all these pitches, we're going to let you know which 3 are advancing to the U.S. National Finals on September 9th. And so again, a reminder, don't forget to participate. This, as the audience, it's as much about you as anyone else. And we want to make sure you're getting your questions into the chat. We want to make sure you're rating the startups on the event page to help choose the audience winner. If you're not signed into the platform, you'll need to sign in to do that. But we want to get all your votes in, and you'll ultimately be the tiebreaker if we have any close calls when the judges make their determinations. And so, with that, we're ready to get started. And it's my pleasure to introduce our first startup to the stage. We'll be welcoming Sonix Medical Devices. They're combating bacterial infections and AMR without antibiotics. Let's welcome Vipula, the founder of Sonix Medical Devices. All yours, Vipula. Please just let us know when you'd like us to advance the slides.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. Really a pleasure to be here with everyone today and have this opportunity to talk about what Sonix Medical Devices is doing. I'm founder and CEO of Sonix Medical Devices. What the problem we're trying to solve is really of fighting the bacterial infections without having to use antibiotics. If you can go to my first slide, please. Sorry, next slide. Thank you. So when you look at the drug resistance emerging around the globe, this is even bigger problem than what we've seen with COVID. We see about 700,000 people died today because of the drug-resistant bacteria. And even with COVID, we saw 50% of the COVID patients died because of the co-infections with the bacteria. And it's also predicted that by 2050, we're going to see 10 million people die every year. And this is not a small problem. And I think when you look at the GDP and also the cost to the world is about 100 trillion USD. So we have to do something about this. Can you share next slide, please? So what we are doing is we're looking at the current solutions, which are basically chemical-based solutions. There's nothing there for post-surgery or catheter site infections. And when you combine the post-surgery and catheter site infections, you have a high rate of mortality And this is where we are actually focusing our device on. Can you go to next slide, please? Oops, that's the wrong deck. Okay, never mind. So that's fine. So what we're trying to do is we are actually having a smart alternative to bacterial resistance, but also to really avoid antibiotics from the system. Can you go to the next slide, please? So my team, it's myself. I'm a microbiologist and medical immunologist by training. And we are a really good group of people. Everybody has industry experience. We have launched global products. And Mark Schaefer, who's my chief technical officer, he's actually international expert in ultrasound and other technologies. Denny has worked with Kimberly-Clark for about 35 years, and he's our sourcing and operating person. Next slide, please. We have an excellent advisory board. Dr. Cami Graham, she's an infectious disease expert, and Dr. Daniel Schindler is actually an echocardiograph specialist in the world from Robert Wood Johnson Hospital. So we have really great team around us. Can you go to the next slide, please? So our device basically is a combination of a non-UV light wavelength and a specific high frequency resulting in a photomodulation in the bacteria. What we are trying to do is basically trick the bacteria to recognize that it has to die now by itself. With the antibiotics putting in, they actually mutate to become mutant cells. So we are actually able to fool the bacteria and be able to generate no resistance and treat the surface of the skin and also underneath the surface of the skin. And our treatment lasts about 48 hours, about a 20 minutes treatment. And we're also able to destroy the biofilms very, very quickly. And this actually will allow the antibiotics to work as effectively as they should have done in the past. So we are ready for 510(k) application. We have proprietary technology and also patented technology. Can you go to the next slide, please? So we have issued 7 patents, and this covers both in terms of the design of the transducers we have, the method systems, and also the applications. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is the crux of the things that we are trying to do here is when we compare our device with the chemical solutions that are available to kill and disinfect the skin before surgery, we actually do very well. You'll see that in the chart below. And then on the right-hand side, I have another light devices that basically don't do anything to the bacteria. They're just for the cosmetic purposes. When you look at the Petri dishes, the clinical and safety data, the first dish is actually a control plate. The second one is with the light technology. And we also have the same data for erythromycin, which is a very strong drug as an antibiotic. And then you look at our treatments. And this is literally done within like 20 minutes of the treatment. So you're really avoiding the long cycles of antibiotics, about 20 to 20 days, sometimes months and years, especially on patients who are elderly patients who are going for any kind of knee surgery or orthopedic surgery. They have to remove their implants if they get infected. So we are basically talking to some of our doctors and surgeons right now, and they're really excited about this because they have now a tool that they can use for post-surgery as well as pre-surgery. And right now, they don't have anything for the post-surgery space at all. Can you go to the next slide, please? So who are our customers? Pretty much everybody who are considered as patients, whether they're in the hospital, ambulatory care, post-surgery, dialysis centers. And I'm very excited about the dialysis center, and I'll talk to you about it in a second. But this is going to be a very, very critical component for making sure that our patients don't get infected when they actually dialysis are going to start taking place at home from 2023. Next slide, please. So what is the market size? It's about $140 billion when you combine surgical site infections, hospital infections, and hemodialysis. And addressable market of that is about 10 billion. So we're actually focusing on dialysis because that is a low-hanging fruit. We already have a device that really works very well based on our clinical data. Can you go to the next slide, please? So catheter site infections, these are about 45% of the dialysis patients get infection, and 30% actually have catheter site infections, and most of the mortality rate is pretty high in those patients because they're already immunocompromised. So this is a $1.2 billion addressable market. There are about 5.7 million new procedures that takes place here in the US, and globally is even more. So we've been talking to some of the strategic partners like Davita, New Hope Nephro, and Nephro Plus Dialysis in India. And we actually have right now existing POs for them to use our product in terms of actually even getting approval for India. We'll be able to use that data. So we're actually using them as our partners, but also they will be the people who will take our products into the market. So this is where we actually are very, very excited as in the US, these reimbursement codes are already established. We don't need to have a new reimbursement code. And when you look at the device, which is a handheld device, is already built and it works really well. We have already tested this device. We also have components of disposable gel packs, which will be the consumable revenue that we will get as well, in addition to the device itself. Next slide, please.
Hi, Villa. I'm sorry, we've run over just a moment, so we're going to have to wrap it up. We'd love to transition it to our judges for any questions, but
Sure.
Thank you so much for the presentation, and we'll use this question time to dive a little bit deeper in.
Thank you. My video starts working now.
No, your video was working the whole time, so we got to see you.
Okay, so I just want to show this device to the judges. This is the one that we are actually going to go forward with, and then this is the one that is going to be used for the hospital. It has a tablet that is actually comes with the pre-programs, and they can actually select which surgery patients are going through.
Amazing. Very, very cool looking. I'd love to throw it to Juan if there are any initial questions.
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. Very, very interesting and compelling solution. I did have I guess a couple of questions. One, I guess I'd just love to hear a little bit more background on how you came to find this, sort of novel approach to managing infections and bacteria. And then also, I guess I'd like to better understand what, if any, additional clinical trials will be required as you go through the 510(k) and FDA approval process.
Sure. Yeah. No, thank you, Juan. So the idea came from, I'm a microbiologist, so when we finish all our lab work in the labs, we would actually turn off, the lights and go home. But we would actually turn on the UV light so that none of the bacteria will cross-contaminate for the experiments that we're doing. And of course, you cannot put UV light on patients; that you'll end up causing cancer. So we were able to work with, and the light technology is proven in many cases. They use in cosmetic industry quite a bit, and ultrasound is also a technology that's very, very proven. My thought process was, when a surgery happens, when the surgeon is taking the scalpel and cutting incision into your skin, you're actually dragging your outside bacteria also into your tissues and then bloodstream, ending up causing sepsis in some cases. So we actually thought, okay, it wouldn't be nice to have an area that can be totally sterilized outside and inside, so that you actually have zero risk, but also post-surgery can be used as a treatment at home or by caregiver to be able to avoid any kind of post-surgery infections, which happens typically within 30 days. So myself and Mark, we were talking about it, and we started to work and play around, as I would say, in the labs, and we were able to build. It's very hard to build this device. That's what we learned. We've been working at this for 3 years, and we found that you really have to know the ultrasounds, and I'm very grateful to Mark. He is like the guru of ultrasound. And with the testing mechanism that we had, we were able to successfully show that we also kill superbugs like MRSA when you do this treatment. And obviously, based on different areas of the body, your treatment slightly differs. And we also found that there is a therapeutic window by using our technology. So you actually can know how much time and how much area that device will actually work most effectively. So we have a dose-dependent curve with our device as well.
Wonderful. I think we have time for maybe one more judge question. Anything from you, Carolyn?
Yes, thank you. Really terrific concept. And I'm just very curious, Vipula, what do you see as the competition in the market? How crowded do you see the space?
Yeah, good question. So right now, I didn't get to show you my competitive slide, but right now there is no other device that has actually capability of combining this. Like I said, it's very difficult. So some of the stuff we left out from the patents, because that is a proprietary knowledge and know-how. I think, if it wasn't for Mark's 35 years of experience, we wouldn't have been able to build this device. So there is no technology right now that actually can kill bacteria. There are technologies, light technology, that will actually not even penetrate below the skin, and ultrasound does not really kill bacteria either. So the way we have been able to do is we are targeting an intrinsic biochemical pathway in the bacterial cells that through our physical energies, not having to use the antibiotics. And that really makes a big difference, because you're now doing a localized therapies and you're not killing all the gut biome, which are good bacteria. and ending up having really a lot of other issues from the health perspective. And especially in the patients who are going through chemotherapy, putting antibiotics is actually shown to have a lot of negative impact on the chemotherapy itself. So these kind of devices will really help patients to be able to localize their treatments. And we also found that we do not kill any human cells on the body. So our device is very specific in picking up the bacterial and killing the bacteria, and it's turning on an intrinsic switch, apoptosis. Therefore, the bacteria thinks it's actually its own cell death, rather than actually thinking I have now need to fight with the antibiotics, let's start mutating, and that's how it happens. And our device also kills destroys all the biofilm, which actually allows the antibiotics to now work the same way as they used to. Because most of the companies right now who've been funded in this space, they all are looking to find another antibiotic. The problem with that is no matter how good your antibiotics over a period of time, you're going to have resistant bugs develop. And that's the nature, and we can't beat that.
Thank you so much, Vipula. It was real exciting to learn more about Sonics, and hopefully we'll get some good scores back from the judges. But we're going to have to move on to our second presenter at this point.
Thank you so much for giving me this time today. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you. And with that, it's my pleasure to welcome our second presenting company, which is Coherent. They're using topological insulators to make quantum qubits. It's my pleasure to welcome Roberto, the founder of Coherent, to the virtual stage.
Can you see me?
You're coming through clear, Roberto.
Okay. Hello, I'm Dr. Roberto De Salvo, and I'm the CEO and founder of Coherent. Let me talk to you about the future of quantum computing. Quantum processors are the next revolution in computing. Our vision is to develop and commercialize the world's first room temperature portable quantum computer processor. The challenge is that most quantum computer processor designs require high vacuum and temperatures near absolute zero to operate. These pose severe limitations on size and infrastructure. Whereas digital computers operate by manipulating zeros and ones, quantum computers use quantum bits or qubits. These qubits exploit two key principles of quantum mechanics: superposition and entanglement, and that is the source of their great computational power. The downside is qubits are very sensitive to the environment and are easily disturbed by thermal and electromagnetic noise. That is why they require a vacuum and cryogenic environment. Back in 2018, we asked ourselves the question, what exotic materials out there can enable us to make a qubit, but won't require the extreme vacuum and low temperatures to work? It turns out that they do indeed exist and are called topological insulators. These materials were only discovered in 2007. This technology relies on a sophisticated crystal growth process that self-assembles topologically complex nanoplatelets that yield charge parity or mirror symmetry protected states. You can see a platelet connected with electrodes, and the data show how it is possible to access the quantum states. Our business model is to develop the technology with government funds and raise capital from investors for marketing and accelerating growth. We're working with universities, companies, and government labs to mature the technology and test the market. Our licensing agreements are in place, and we're actively pursuing patent protection. Based on documented reports, the quantum computer market is going to be $5.8 billion by 2025, with a compound annual growth rate of 32%. We estimate that by capturing 10% of the total addressable market, our revenues will be $60 million by 2025. To date, we've received $1.2 million of funding from NASA and the Air Force, and have $1.5 million of funding currently under evaluation by the Air Force, Navy, and Army. We see this as a definite show of traction in the market. The roadmap has taken us from proof of concept to now, where we're working on building the quantum logic gates, and by the end of 2021 have an addressable register. Our team is uniquely qualified for bringing this product to market. We have a deep understanding of the technology, the ability to raise money for such a complicated system, and experience in the user market for high-performance computing. We're currently looking for $5 million in private investment for marketing, customer discovery, and setting up a pilot testing program with universities and research laboratories to develop our market base. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roberto. Really exciting to learn about Coherent. Certainly well over my head, but I'm glad we have a couple of the judges we have here today. Maybe I'll start it off and see, John, if you have any questions, given your physics background.
I appreciate that. Roberto, I'm not even going to touch that. I've been out of physics for quite some time, although I still try and dabble in it. I would ask, how the team came together, and if you could provide some background on that, specifically, why this team, yeah, sorry, I've got a 2-year-old kind of operating behind the computer there. And then also, where, honestly, the applications of this are, all over the place. So I'd like to get a little bit of insight on, what are the immediate uses, and how you see this actually penetrating a market that, frankly speaking, generally is so resistant to such a sea change in technology that, frankly speaking, that this actually represents.
Oh, sure. Wow, that's a lot to answer. So this group, our group with Dr. Carroll at Wake Forest University and our company have been working for approximately 6 years. And actually, we started working on perovskite solar cells, which is another area where we're doing plenty of research. And in doing the research on these materials and getting to know these materials better, and also having a background on scientific computing and high-performance computing, we started looking at the properties of these materials. And so we're aware of the problems and the challenges today with supercomputers and quantum computers, and sort of started putting things together and decided that we should do some sort of lab experiments to see if our theory and our ideas of how these materials should perform would work. And to our surprise, we actually started getting some pretty incredible results. And so that's where we sort of decided that this was something we should pursue. We've seen a lot of traction, like I said, with the military. They're very interested in quantum computing. For them, it's a matter of national security. And there's tremendous work being done by, basically every country. All our adversaries are working on this technology. So, the ability to not only pursue quantum computing, but to be able to do it locally, at room temperature is an incredible advantage. And so that's why we're pursuing this work.
Thank you, Roberto. Maybe I'll throw it to Juan, I'll throw it to Juan first, because I'd love to get your perspective, given your history with Rigetti, and I'm sure you watched the space a little bit, and then we'll bring it to Caroline for the final question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, Roberto, thanks for the presentation. I guess the only thing I'd love to understand is to this point, in understanding that you're still fairly early in the development of your technology, have you been able to determine the performance of your qubits using this sort of topological based insulators versus the more traditional approach thus far? And then secondly, how much capital do you think it would require for you to get to the point where you're initially commercializing the initial phase of commercialization of your technology?
Okay, so performance-wise, we've obtained coherence times anywhere from 100 milliseconds to 10 seconds, which is quite incredible. We're orders of magnitude, several orders of magnitude greater than any other technology, and that has to do with the fact that this is a topological insulator. So you're not talking about a single electron or a single photon that is in a particular state, but you're talking about entire populations of electrons that all are coherent. And that allows you to have much longer coherence time. So it's pretty incredible. And as far as the amount of money, we're probably looking at $30 to $50 million, I would say. That's based on our estimates.
Wonderful. Carolyn, take it away.
Thanks. Really, really interesting. Question for you, Roberto.
To realize kind of the full potential of Coherent, who do you need on your team that you don't have now?
Well, certainly a lot more physicists and people who are specialized in computer science. You know, where my experience and my background is in high performance computing and in material science. But you know, so I sort of bookend both ends of this technology, sort of the user and the developer of the technology, but definitely the entire group of people that are in between that are required to take a technology from where it is now to where it needs to be given to the customer.
And Roberto, maybe a quick question from the chat. We have a question that came in from Michael. Are the applications of these quantum computers the same as traditional quantum computers? And how should we think about the limitations of your approach?
Well, he said, you know, I'll have to interpret the question because he talked about traditional quantum computers, and there's no such thing.
No
I mean,
such
every computer, every quantum computer today is basically experimental, and you know, some IBM and Microsoft and Google have reached, you know, incredible results, but you know, we're still talking about, you know, dozens of qubits. You know, we're not talking about the level of qubits necessary to actually do proper high performance computing calculations. The advantages of this technology is basically that you know, sort of like the difference between valves and transistors 70 years ago. You know, it allowed you to go from room full of computers and mainframes, which was sort of the standard, to basically the personal, you know, an iPad or your iPhone. And that's really the promise of this technology, because it's if you saw the pictures, you know, we're talking about a nanometer sized components, and they operate at room temperature. This will enable quantum computers to be basically portable, which is very important to the military, for example, in degraded environments, because if communications are cut off, they still need to be able to do what they need to do without having to rely on interference and you know, things that can happen on the battlefield.
Thank you so much, Roberto. Really exciting to hear about Coherent, and I imagine we'll be watching this technology develop with you, you know, over the next coming years, and excited to see where it ends up. Thank you for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, and with that, we'll move into our third, you know, presenter for tonight. Really excited to welcome PepVax. They're developing drugs directly inside the patient. Let's welcome Mahesh, the co-founder, to the virtual stage.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Just share screen whenever you're ready. Perfect.
Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, you're coming through clearly.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. My name is Mahesh Narayanan. I'm the president and CEO of PepVax. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present here today. As we move closer to precision medicine, where we're creating one drug for each patient or a small population of patients, we've encountered multiple problems. The next generation of treatments, such as cell therapies, gene therapies, or immunotherapies, have shown amazing results in patients, but they've also had a lot of issues with long production timelines, high toxicity that can kill the patients, low efficacy rates, and the narrow applicability. And a lot of this stems from their reliance on viruses to be delivering these treatments. So PepVax has developed our novel DNA-based drug delivery platform called SmartMid that can manufacture or engineer these treatments directly inside the patients, which has the potential to make them much safer, much more effective, and also be used in multiple diseases like cancer, influenza, and diabetes, while drastically decreasing the production time and the cost. So what makes our plasmid better is three key components. The first is nuclear localization, which is what enables our DNA to get into the cell up to 90% of the time, which is 3 to 5 times higher than traditional plasmids, and on par with viral vectors, with any of the cytotoxicities. We already have proof of concept of being able to do this in animals, and we are currently moving towards human trials to try these out in multiple different patients for multiple disease states. Our expected market, obviously, we cannot address every cell therapy, gene therapy, or immunotherapy, but we believe we can address at least 30% of that, which is about $1.15 billion by 2023, which is still a significant market. Our go-to-market strategy is quite simple. We have 3 tiers. First is collaborations with universities, where we're able to do early stage trials and then build out an IP portfolio through them, and then kind of out-license that technology to others. We currently have Johns Hopkins, George Mason University, and Columbia University already on our platform, and we're expanding it to multiple other well-known universities. We have partnerships with a few companies who have already licensed this technology, thus we're actually generating revenue at this time. And here we are getting money from milestone payments as well as royalties down the line. And most of these deals are anywhere between $30 to $50 million based on the size of the company. The last tier is our licensing model, which is primarily for our big biotechnology and pharmaceutical companies. We haven't done any of these yet because we're still waiting for our human trials. But once we are able to get that human data, we feel very confident in being able to engage multiple players, multiple bigger players as well. As I mentioned, we are generating revenue at this time. We're looking at about $100,000 on revenue this year, and we expect to break even by 2022. And hopefully by 2024, we actually are able to get our licensing done with a big pharmaceutical, which will drastically increase our revenue stream. Our team is 4 key individuals. My background is in bioengineering. I did my master's in biotechnology at University of Pennsylvania and have a significant background in plasmid engineering. My co-founder is Dr. Anton Dormer. He's also my co-inventor of the SmartMed platform. He's an immuno-oncologist in training as an MD, but we have developed this together. And our team has over 4 years of combined experience in immuno-oncology and virology. And we have a significant advisory team as well that can help us with the business development, the toxicology, and the regulatory process. We've already raised $750,000 through founders, family, and friends, and we're currently finishing up a Series A of $4 million. 3.5 has already been committed by our lead investor, so we're looking for a syndicate to finish up to another $500,000. I know I went through that pretty quickly, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Very exciting, Mahesh, and thank you for powering through that. Excited to turn it over to our judges for any questions. But Mahesh, do you mind turning your video on if possible? Oh, perfect. There we go.
Yep.
Maybe John, do you have any initial questions to get started?
I do. Can you describe how you put together the revenue strategy and what the thought process was behind this, and whether or not you actually see this transforming into another model further down the line?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason we've started this process because this field is still very, very early. The idea behind cell therapy and gene therapies have really only been around in terms of development stage for about 15 years. We only had our first CAR T approved by the FDA in 2018. So this is still very nascent, which means most of the big research is still taking place within universities and early stage startups. So our goal is to capture that market as soon as possible so that eventually they are reliant on our platform and are developing their treatments on our platform. Because FDA has mandated recently to move after non-viral delivery mechanisms. So most companies right now are working on viruses. They have to now move towards non-viruses because of a mandate by the FDA. And so we are very early in the process, and we're trying to bring as many people as we can. Those who are already in the clinical side obviously don't want to change from viruses to non-viruses, but from the early development stage, that is a process happening. So eventually, our goal is to not only license this platform out, but also become a manufacturer process and become a contract CDMO for the manufacturing. So that can also generate a significant amount of revenue. And a third way of kind of changing the business plan is if you want to license any of these early stage assets that we're working with in universities, we can actually in-license. We do have the capacity to in-license some of these technologies, so we can develop them in-house ourselves. Currently, we don't have to go through the FDA process for partnering with universities and companies. But if we have to start making our own drugs and developing our own treatments, then we will have to go through the FDA process. So that's a lot more capital intensive. So we don't plan to do that until we have a significant revenue stream or a much bigger investment round to actually develop these in-house.
Wonderful. And any questions from Juan or Carolyn?
Sure, I can jump in. Thank you so much, Mahesh, for the presentation. Two things. I guess I may have missed it, and I apologize. So I'd like to better understand the upcoming human clinical trial process and timing. And then secondly, I'd like to understand what the goals for your Series A financing will be. It sounds like you're raising $4 million, which, as you mentioned, is not a lot of capital for what you're planning to do. So I'd love to understand what goals you hope to accomplish with that capital.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So in terms of clinical trials, we have a partner already who is working on pancreatic cancer, and they're looking at a microRNA treatment, and they're using our plasma to deliver that microRNA. This is another type of cell therapy that's currently coming together, and they were about a year away before COVID. I don't know exactly how much COVID has changed their plan, but I would assume that by 2021 they will be in human trials. And so our strategy really is to move forward into clinical trials through them. So we don't have to go through the FDA process ourselves, but we will be responsible for looking at the manufacturing and the plasma design. That's really going to be our component. So we are somewhat collaborating in the IND filing, but the majority, because our plasma is really a delivery mechanism, not the drug itself, we don't have too much responsibility on the actual filing. But they are looking to go into phase 1 sometime in 2021, and by end of 2021, early 22, we will have early results on the safety side, and that's really what most of our big pharmaceutical company partners are looking for. So if we're able to prove safety inside humans, then we can just start licensing it directly to them, and other companies who are already in human trials, we can go ahead and work with them. And in terms of the Series A, there are 3 key components. The first is to expand my team. We have a significant amount of pipeline companies and universities, but we just don't have the bandwidth at this time. So we're looking to expand our team as well as our lab, so we can actually do a lot of these work in-house. And then the second aspect is our IP. As I mentioned, we currently have an IP portfolio for the plasmid itself. We have 3 patents pending, and we have about 7 more that we plan to apply in various applications over the next 3 to 6 years. So that's also in the process, and so we are looking to push that together. And then finally, we're actually looking at our 3rd generation of plasmid. This is actually our 2nd generation. We have a 3rd generation that's going to be even better when it comes to expression of these type of drugs directly inside patients. We should be able to also cross the blood-brain barrier, so we can actually start addressing CNS diseases, which is going to be a huge market for us to tackle. And also, we're looking at an on-off switch. So this is primarily for gene therapies, where we can control how much expression happens and where it happens. We're creating this on-off switch. So these are pretty much the next generation that we want to build using the Series A money.
Thank you so much, Mahesh. Really appreciate you sharing some more information about what you're working on and really exciting progress thus far to date. And it sounds like the Series A is going to be coming together in short order. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for spending some time with us tonight. With that, we'll move on to our 4th presenter.
Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure to welcome PepVax, or I'm sorry, that's who I just welcomed. We'll be welcoming LanaLearn, who are shifting the online education market. Let's welcome Tina, the CEO, to the virtual stage.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
You're coming through perfectly, Tina.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Tina Tran-Neville, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Lana Learn. My background is that I'm a former U.S. Foreign Service officer, so I've lived in multiple countries. I've been an instructor at universities, high schools, and previously an education entrepreneur. So last year, about this time, I was teaching students English online in China, and we were using Zoom and Skype, but we ran into a couple of problems. First of all, my students and parents had a little bit of technology literacy issues in that were they using web apps or mobile apps and optimizing browsers, and then also the language barriers. And secondly, I needed a way to actually measure my student engagement because we weren't face-to-face, we're online. And so while I could have used other platforms like Adobe Connect or Cisco, I realized that they were complicated and may not have the exact features I needed for global audiences and online learning. And so, being based in Seattle, a city rich in technology resources, I reached out to the University of Washington and worked with professors and students to build out the alpha version of Lana Learn, one that would be web-based so students anywhere could access it on any platform. 2, incorporate simultaneous translations, and 3, enable teachers and hosts to measure student engagement. And so this was our alpha version of Lana Learn. We pushed it out to market. 1 year later, with 2,270 meetings and classes on the platform, this is now the beta version of Lana Learn, where we have interactive tools, where we have simultaneous chat translations and subtitles translations, personalized classrooms, engagement analytics, and real-time video. So how big is this market? When we analyzed this market earlier this year, pre-COVID, it was $315 billion for global e-learning. We wanted to focus on, because it's a global product, we wanted to focus on the area of the world that's increasing the fastest in e-learning adoption, and that's Southeast Asia. So we focused on Vietnam first. Our initial market is there. That's a $3 billion market growing at 20% CAGR. However, COVID accelerated it even more by 13%, the growth in this market. So who's the team behind this? It's myself and other great designers and developers in Vietnam and Thailand and here based in Seattle. We also have great advisors at Amazon Education, Microsoft, and financial analysts as well. We've also received press mentions as well. So what's the business model? So currently we're teaching English on our platform, and based on our own curriculum, it's 80% margins. Secondly, we have opened up the platform to other teachers to teach their own curriculum, and we take 15% commission. The third business model is a freemium model where you have free services, but then with premium services, it's a $20 license fee per host. So as I mentioned, our initial markets are Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, Thailand, and we actually have students here in the United States too. We're targeting the area of the world that's growing the fastest with online adoption. What's our go-to-market strategy? It's threefold. First, we land key clients. Secondly, we build our brand. And thirdly, we expand in the market. Here's our competitive landscape. We have indirect competitors like Zoom and Skype, as I mentioned, as well as direct competitors as well. And I'm happy to discuss that in questions and answers. Our competitive advantages are number 1, our global feature set, 2, our engagement analytics, and 3, our cross-functional team. Our KPIs are pretty clear. We could grow 12% on our own without external funding, but external funding would accelerate us even more. We have a negative churn rate. We're pretty happy about that, and a 5-to-1 lifetime value to customer acquisition cost. Here are our financials that we've projected out over the next 5 years. And then finally, our ask and milestones are just to ask people to be part of the team. So whether you have technology background, operations, HR, or a partner who want to use a global e-learning platform, we welcome you. So thanks so much for this opportunity, and I welcome questions.
Tina, thank you so much. Really exciting to learn about Lana Learn. Maybe we'll start with Carolyn. I mean, this is right up your wheelhouse. Would love to see if you have any questions for Tina.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tina. Really terrific work. Series of questions for you. What is the strategic decision in picking Thailand and Southeast Asia generally as your kind of first market? Do you see Lana Learn as scalable beyond that market? And then I guess third, you kind of asked the question, I'd love to hear your answer about competition for that market.
Yeah. So to your first question about why Southeast Asia, Vietnam, and Thailand. So we ran the data and we did research. 7 of the top 10 countries growing the fastest in online learning are in South Asia and Southeast Asia. So we knew that that was the market that we wanted to hit. In terms of Vietnam and Thailand, so I was born in Vietnam, so I speak the language. So it helps to not have to hire a translator alongside someone on the team. So that was easy and I've lived there. And then secondly, Thailand, because I've also lived there too with my foreign service life, so have a network on the ground. It's been incredible. We actually were on the ground in Southeast Asia last fall and the beginning of this year, and then we just came back to Seattle after COVID. So now is the time to start sharing our story. Secondly, the question on, can you remind me the question?
How scalable beyond that initial market do you see?
Yeah, absolutely. So the features that we're building out in terms of the global platform are features that can be applied to any other part of the region. So again, going back to our competitive advantages, number one is global feature set. So multilingual subtitle translations, chat translations, easy user interface. These are things that we wanted to work with global audiences. They didn't have to be in Southeast Asia. And so a platform we think is scalable, and that's why we're leveraging technology. In terms of competition, if it's okay, I'd like to share my screen just because I think I like visuals and that's why we built a easy user interface. If I could share my screen, I just wanted to show you maybe. So we think a lot about competition only because e-learning's hot right now, but also because we really want to be prudent and strategic and thoughtful. So in terms of our competitive landscape, I don't know if you can see this, but here,
yeah, it's coming through.
Yeah, great. So here what we see are our direct competitors, but mostly they're in the United States. Sorry. So mostly they're in the US in terms of our, sorry. It's mostly Coursera, Tessa, Allison, Canvas. They're all pretty much based either in Europe or the United States, and they're trying to do a global reach. And so for us, we've seen that 80% of the market is fragmented anyway, and 20% are dominated by global players. And so, it's just a really good time and space for another competitor in the space, but we have to move quickly. And then in terms of indirect competitors, I think everyone knows how fast Zoom and, Skype and Google Meet are growing. We do kind of see them as competitors, but not really, because we're very focused on our niche market of online learning and training, which itself is already growing at 20% CAGR in Vietnam and then 13% accelerated because of COVID.
Thank you, Tina. Maybe a quick question if John has anything.
Yeah.
I don't have really anything in particular. I was quite curious. This is just based on my experience being in Asia, as I'm sure you can imagine. The cultures are quite different, moving from one country to another. Not to mention just the languages. So it was quite curious, actually, what the plan is to actually have localization in place, and what you're estimating the cost to be for something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't have a chance to really expand on our go-to-market strategy, but to answer your question on, yes, absolutely. I was a former diplomat for a while, so this was what I was trained to do. And I've lived in 8 different countries in Asia and the Middle East and Latin America. So this excites me. In terms of our strategy is to focus first and foremost on US multinational companies that need online education and training opportunities. So one of our clients is Axon Company, which is a US public company. Their local technology team is in Vietnam. In addition, I'm part of the American Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam, and so other US multinational companies that are part of that are like Aetna, EY, Intel. And so by being a part of these US multinational companies, the strategy is when we can work with one and do a really good job in Vietnam, then we can approach that same office in another country. We're also talking to the US Department of Defense in Vietnam as a client to also teach their counterparts English on our platform as well. And so that is our strategy. It's very strategic and focused, US multinational companies. And then once you're in one country, to make that same expansion in other countries focusing on Southeast Asia. And then once we land clients, then we can build the brand. Look, we're working with these great companies, and then we can expand to their staff and then B2C to the rest of the market. I think that's the best and most strategic way we can do that as a US company, leveraging also previous networks and experiences on our team.
Thank you so much, Sheena. Very, very exciting to learn about LanaLearn and hopeful to see it taking over the Southeast Asian e-learning market in the coming years. Thanks again for your time tonight. And with that, we're going to move to our next presenter.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to welcome our fifth presenter to the stage. This is Digital Spring, and they're focused on increasing farm profit while reducing nitrogen runoff. It's my pleasure to welcome James Canyon, the founder of Digital Spring.
All right, are we on?
You're on.
Super. Hi, I'm Jim Canyon. I'm founder and CEO of Digital Spring. I'm an ex-satellite design engineer turned salesman for startups, and I'm here to announce our family's growing. Well, not my family in particular, but our extended family. In fact, global population will increase 25% by 2050. Bigger family means we need more food. We need a lot more food. And it's this fact that drives the UN report on global sustainability. Growing more food drives increased farm runoffs, which happens to be the world's biggest problem. How big is it? It's an order of magnitude worse than climate change. But from a farmer, so let's look at this problem from a farmer's perspective. Today's farmer is faced with a complex system. He has numerous parties advocating for their specific solution within their product lineups. Even a PhD in agronomy can't optimize the available farm inputs. It's almost impossible. We've got the solution. Utilizing our tools, we guide farmers in optimizing their operation. All processes and inputs are graded as a function of year-end profits. The end result is an amazing 40% farm profit increase with a simultaneous reduction of 10 to 20% of farm inputs, therefore driving reduced runoffs. And I'd like to take one moment for you to spend a minute and think about it. For the first time, we're offering farmers, independent of acreage, how big they are, the ability to predict year-end profit as a function of inputs a season in advance. So how do we do it? Digital Spring scans farmland using aircraft, retrofitted with our remote sensing equipment. We scan from the tip of the crop to 36 inches under the soil. Bi-weekly, we measure soil parameters, the health of the individual crop that you're growing, and the climate on your farm. That goes to our AI, and we deliver. And we have 3 apps that we deliver to our customers. The first app, Farm Practices, is offered for free, and it's an optimization of tillage and equipment utilization methodologies. Land Management is a first ever view of the river or the lack thereof under your soil. We provide soil moisture, soil type as a function of time. Whole Farm P&L is our crop yield simulation tool bookended with financials. Currently, farmers manage their farms on a piece of paper they put in their top pocket. But we're all capitalists here, right? And you're sifting through presentations looking for an exceptional business model. It costs Digital Spring 0.3 cents to scan an acre. For that data, we charge $3 per acre. That's a 1000x profit margin. When you compare us to drone-based systems or satellite-based systems, we're $650 per kilometer less expensive than drones just gathering the data. And we have 10,000x better resolution than satellite data for the same relative data costs. Digital Spring operates in the $12 billion smart agriculture market. We're looking in October. We're looking to raise $1.5 million with focus on scanning 1 million acres valued at about $100 million SOM in the great state of Iowa. So very focused. We're looking for some investors to join us. We're scheduling a fundraise in October and are looking for passionate, savvy investors who care about the planet and who are interested in feeding our family. I'm Jim Canyon, and for the rest of the team, I'd like to thank you for your time. And I look forward to meeting you after this conversation.
Thank you so much, Jim. Maybe we'll throw it to any of our judges. Juan, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Thank you, Jim. I guess I'd like to, but it sounds like you didn't have time to cover this in your presentation, but I'd love to understand more about the team, the founding team here, and their backgrounds, and why this is the team that could make Digital Spring a success.
So the founders are myself and a friend of mine, Dr. Steve Moss, and the largest differentiator that we offer is our ability to scan soil, to penetrate soil through 36 inches and determine water transport through soil. So the water transport through soil is a highly nonlinear model, and the model is actually broken up into two models, one model for the saturated region and one model for the unsaturated region. And so about 3 years ago, we started out with USDA models, and today we boast USDA has 3 or 4 different models that they offer, and we boast an optimizable model, a much better model than what they offer. And in fact, our model, it's a 1.5D model, and we also take a rain event or a saturated region. We can watch the saturated region or watch this rain event run through the soil. The idea of determining water transport through on top of the ground and through the soil into the aquifer at our native resolution, which is 9 spots per acre, flying at 1,000 feet, or 49 spots per acre flying at 500 feet, is just incredible. Nobody's got that today, and there are very few audiences where I can talk about this topic.
Do you mind giving a little bit more context on the team, though? How did the team get together, and what are the backgrounds that helped create this incredible innovation?
So again, I'm an RF design engineer. I stumbled upon throughout my career, I watched simulators, the advent of simulators push technology. So big companies like Qualcomm and Broadcom were built on the backs of the ability to simulate a future result. And a while back, I started playing with soil, and I noticed that, and then I started looking at farming and water transport, et cetera. And I noticed that farmers don't have the ability to simulate their yield. And data always works. And the question is how do you get all the data and put it in the cloud? With that problem, I went to Steve, who's pretty well known globally as a nonlinear modeler. And I said, Steve, I know you model MOSFETs and transistors, noise effects. I think water transport through soil is really close. So Steve started in, and he came in and joined me. When we were off outside of Purdue, I had Dr. Zach Adams come in, and a young Air Force. He's currently an Air Force pilot, but help out. And originally we started out looking at drones, and and then his partner, Ian said, Jim, you're an idiot. You can't do it. Use a drone. You need to fly fast. So we fought it. So it literally took us about a year to put together the business model. And I believe that both the technology and the business model are paired, and why we're going to be quite a force in this field.
Thank you so much, Jim. I apologize, but we're going to have to move on to the next presenter because we're running over a little bit, but really appreciate the opportunity to learn a little bit about Digital Spring.
Nice to meet all of you. Thank you.
And with that, it's my pleasure to welcome 7 Seas Music. It's an international music catalog that's trying to transform the future of entertainment and music. It's my pleasure to welcome Brooke, the founder of 7 Seas Music.
Okay. Whoops. Whoops.
No, it's perfect. You're good to go.
I know, but I'm supposed to be showing a demo right now and it's not coming up. So I am going to stop my share. You can hear my voice. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear and your video's working.
Okay. Oh, there we go. So here I'm going to play a demo.
7 Seas Music is a leading platform for discovering and licensing international and independently owned music using our desktop and mobile platforms. Customers can scroll over our unique 3D immersive map and listen to a catalog of over 30,000 tracks from 125 countries around the globe. You can use our filtration system to select a region, genre, language, mood, or vocal type. The platform then generates a list of songs to audition. You can make a playlist, share your playlist, favorite a song, or if you're ready to acquire the song, choose license and fill in the form. A quote is initiated, a legal license generated, and the artist is paid. Never before has acquiring authentic international music been so easy and seamless.
Okay. I hope you saw that. So I started this business with my partner, Miriam Battaglia. We've worked together for over 12 years in the licensing. Oh, no, you didn't see the demo. Don't tell me that. Did you really not see the demo?
We heard it, but the screen share canceled when you started.
I reviewed this. I mean, the whole point of having a demo is so that you can actually see the product work. And I'm not sure then how I'm going to be able to do that. So, boy, let me see. Let me try this again. We did it. Let me see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this then. Well, it's sort of useless then if I can't show you the demo. We tried to, but let me do this one more time. Advanced. Share, let's see. And when I share, it doesn't.
We're seeing your screen, but not.
Right. Well, then let me do this. Whoops. It needs to be here and then do this. And then I can do this. Does that? Now, can you see it?
Yes, let's see if it plays.
Let's try one more time because I'm really quick.
7 Seas Music is a leading platform for discovering and licensing international and independently owned music using our desktop and mobile platforms. Customers can scroll over our unique 3D immersive map and listen to a catalog of over 30,000 tracks from 125 countries around the globe. You can use our filtration system to select a region, genre, language, mood, or vocal type. The platform then generates a list of songs to audition. You can make a playlist, share your playlist, favorite a song, or if you're ready to acquire the song, choose license and fill in the form. A quote is initiated, a legal license generated, and the artist is paid. Never before has acquiring authentic international music been so easy and seamless.
Okay, so there you got to see it. All right. We find that actually showing that demo helps people understand the product better. So I started this business with my partner, Miriam Battaglia. We've worked together for over 12 years in the licensing business and music supervision business. And we've actually authored 2 books on the subject matter. My background is I used to be music director for ESPN and won a Billboard Award for international music. And my colleague has a law degree and has worked at many law firms in Los Angeles. In music licensing, we noticed that the most difficult music to license was international music due to mainly location, time zone issues, language issues, and actually the locating copyright holder. So we found a lot of independent music owned by the artists, and we made it available to our colleagues where they can search, listen, and license the music very quickly. And the money goes back to the artists in those countries. We take 50% of every deal that we broker, and we also collect on publishing through administration. We currently have been around working for about we've had clients for over 3.5 years, and our clients include all the major television networks and film companies. We recently this year received a WBENC certification. Pre-COVID, we actually had an in-house meeting with Airbnb to provide music for their content. We have a deal in the works with Warner Media, which is through Turner. And we did a deal with Peer Music this year. We also received PPP loans, so I did not have to lay off anyone. We have a staff of about 7 people. There are competitors in this field. However, because we focus on international music, you can come to us to find music. Like today, someone came back, wanted music from Lebanon. I actually emailed someone in Beirut. We have that music. We can provide it and license it within 24 hours. So we are a different service than a lot of our competitors. Right now, we are raising funds to accelerate our growth and for our marketing. And during this COVID period, we've actually, because productions have decreased, we have focused on increasing our social media and changing our technology a bit and changing our interface on our website. We did, for funding, we did receive a Pipeline Angels group of funding in the beginning, and then we received 2 convertible notes from individuals, and now we're working on our seed round and looking for a lead on that. And I'm open to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brooke. Really, really appreciate it, and enjoyed hearing the music of Seven Seas Music.
You had to hear it twice, though.
No complaints on my side. To be sensitive of time, I'd love to see if any of our judges have a pressing question that they would like to get in here.
Very quick question, Brooke. Thank you. Do you have a sense of how big the market is?
Yeah, well, the music business is about a $20 billion business. The licensing aspect of it is a $440 million industry. Synchronization licensing, which is what we specialize in, which is putting music in film and TV, actually is doing very well and is the one way where artists are making money as opposed to streaming. The artists are starting to complain about the monies and checks they're getting from Spotify.
Thank you, Brooke. Any final quick questions from Juan or John? Okay, we will take it from there. Brooke, thank you so much for sharing Seven Seas Music with us. And next, we'll go to our second to last pitch. It's my pleasure to welcome Altus Biosystems. It's a human intestinal stem cell platform for pharma. Let's welcome Michael, the CEO, to the virtual stage.
Hi, my name is Michael Byron. I'm the CEO and a founder at Altus Biosystems. And at Altus, We're making drug development faster, cheaper, safer, and reducing the need for animal testing. We're solving a major problem in the pharmaceutical industry because right now, 88% of drugs fail during clinical trials, and $151 billion is spent every year on research and development. One of the big reasons for this high expense and failure rate are because of ineffective in vitro models earlier on in the drug development process before they're testing on humans. Right now, what they're using are animal models and cancer cell lines, neither of which are physiologically relevant to normal human biology. So Altus developed a solution, and it's a patent-pending stem cell platform that produces normal human intestinal tissue. And we have several major advantages on our platform. First and foremost, it much more accurately replicates normal human biology. We can test lots of drugs on our platform, so it's high throughput and scalable, and it produces reliable and consistent results. What's also great is we can use cells from people of different demographic backgrounds, because drugs don't necessarily perform the same way on me as they might on you. And this really allows companies to test that different biological diversity. We have 5 patents pending with an exclusive license to them from the University of North Carolina. And we've commercialized the platform through 2 revenue streams. First, Altus sells the platform as a kit or as a product where it comes with all the materials that a scientist needs to culture the cells in their own facility. In addition to that, we also provide services on our platform where a company can send us their drugs and we can culture our cells and perform the downstream testing. And the reason companies want to do that is because we're the intestinal experts and they usually don't have all of the bandwidth to do all of their own testing. And a majority of the work that we do is service-based. But overall, we have 85% gross margins, so very strong margins. We've seen a great reception from the industry. We've worked with about half of the top 20 pharmaceutical companies to this point, as well as small and medium-sized companies. And we have repeat customers, and we've published studies at various industry conferences with companies like AstraZeneca, as well as Janssen. We're in a really hot market. It's the intestinal organ on a chip market. And it's projected to grow at 69% annually over the next 4 to 5 years to over $900 million. And the reason is because pharma companies are understanding if they want to get better results, they need to use more physiologically relevant platforms. Here are our revenue projections, and we're planning on growing by more than doubling in size year over year to over $22 million in the next 3 to 4 years, with a little over 1/3 of that being EBITDA. And what's great is we hit our revenue projections last year, and we're well on track to hit again this year. And we're seeing exit multiples in this space about 10 to 15 times revenue. We have a great management team in place, people with both business and leadership backgrounds, technical expertise, people who have started up commercial labs from scratch, as well as people that have taken university technologies and spun them out into companies that have had very successful exits. We also have a great board of directors. In addition to the founding team, we have the former CEO of KBI Biopharma and KSEP, both industry relevant companies and had very successful exits. The former president of Eli Lilly Global Oncology, she's also the board member of multiple publicly traded companies right now, as well as an experienced investor with a great medical background. And we also have a great board of advisors, people with both pharmaceutical executives as well as technical expertise. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks a ton, Michael. Really, really exciting to hear about Altus. Would love to get started with our judges. Maybe we'll start off with Juan, see if you have any questions.
Sure. Thank you, Michael. I did have a question or two here. I'm curious, is the platform expandable into other organ tissues, aside from the intestinal on a chip? Because I'd like, and if so, how long would it take you, from a product development standpoint, to add other markets?
Good question, and yes, so that's actually on our pipeline or R&D pipeline moving forward. And so right now we have the current platform that's commercially available. We have several other intestinal platforms that sort of increase the biological relevancy of the platform. Those are some of the platforms that we're developing over the next 6 to 12 months. But our director of biology, his whole background actually was previously in the liver. And so we're planning on moving and becoming more of a digestive company. So the next organ of interest would likely be the liver and kidneys. The timeline for that, we'll likely start developing them somewhere in the next 9 to 12 months. But realistically, probably about 2 years from now, we'll have additional organs rolling out. Maybe a little bit sooner, but probably within that time frame.
Wonderful. Any questions from either John or Carolyn? Okay. With that, thank you, Michael, so much for sharing more information about Altus. It was a great pleasure meeting you tonight and hearing a bit about the story.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.
Wonderful. And now, last but not least, it's my pleasure to introduce our final presenting company. This is Haptic. They're activating ordinary surfaces into remote controls. It's my pleasure to welcome Jake, the CEO of Haptic. Coming through, Jake, looking good.
All right, awesome. Good audio, good video. So thank you everyone for hanging in there. I know it's late for some of you, those in Central and Eastern time zones. Let's dive right in. Touch is core to the human experience. It's the first meaningful communication we have when we enter this world. And we express through our hands and touch before we learn to speak a single word. We have a remarkable ability to use our hands to consume information and to communicate it. Today, the power of touch is amplified through touch-enabled interfaces. We carry touchscreens in our pockets, find them in our cars, our homes, and beyond. But existing technology has barely even begun to tap into the full potential of touch. The touchscreens and touchpads of today confine the user's interaction to just the area within a digital sensor panel. What if touch control could expand beyond these confines out into the physical world that already surrounds us? Imagine the possibilities. Patrons at restaurants, maybe post-COVID, could order drinks or call their server to the table directly through the table. Residents of assisted living centers could use their entire walls as light switches. Hospital beds could be activated as call buttons and furniture brought to life with active functionality, and the opportunities go on. My name is Jake, and I'm the founder and CEO of Haptic. I've been disrupting industries and building technology companies for over 15 years with 3 exits, but this is my most exciting venture by far. At Haptic, we activate the surfaces of our physical world into highly capable and accessible digital interfaces. We wanted to prove our technology to the world, so we deployed it with our first offering, Naki. With Naki discreetly mounted under a table or to a wall, the entire surface comes to life. For example, how nice would it be to crawl into bed and with a few gentle taps anywhere on your nightstand, turn off the lights, set the alarm, and adjust the temperature, all without dictating voice commands to Alexa and waking up your partner. We're quickly approaching $2 million in revenue, representing 17,000 units in 91 countries, and we now have thousands of Nakis actively being used around the world in ways we never even anticipated with great usage metrics. We've also received repeat purchase orders from businesses, both stateside and abroad. We have 7 granted patents that are broad and defensible. Let me go on here. Our platform is the only way to instantly and affordably and scalably gesture-enable surfaces that already exist around us within reach. We're actively collecting sensor data to build our cloud-based gesture recognition engine, which will be licensed and offered through SaaS to enterprise. And we built out a robust smart surface platform that can be vertically integrated in a lot of legacy low-tech verticals. And we'll be licensing and offering our technology platform through SaaS to enterprise. We have a proven team that's already bringing this technology to the world with experience around enterprise IoT, signal processing, human-machine interaction, business development, and globally scaling software. I look forward to answering your questions, and let's tap into our world through the power of haptic.
Thank you very much, Jake. Thank you very much, Jake. Really, really appreciate it. I'd love to throw it over to any of our judges for questions. Maybe if we have anyone who wants to get started, maybe John.
Sorry, running a little bit late there. So can you provide a little bit of background on competitors in the space and some any IP, related IP?
Yeah, so what we do that's unique essentially is taking a sensor system and embedding it to one location in a surface, but activating the surface outside the perimeter of that sensor. So really the only companies now that are doing it, there's a company that came out of stealth mode this year called Hypersense that actually embeds into automobiles and small door handles, but they don't actually activate larger panels like particle board and wood and glass. We also have seen some IP from Philips and some other large corporates that use optical projections onto surfaces, but we have 7 patents that grant us pretty broad protection. They're internationally granted through PCT. We are really the only way to just provide a turnkey way to make furniture smart, to turn doors into smart doors, and so forth.
Wonderful. Any other questions from our judges, Carolyn or Juan?
Yeah, I have a question. You've done 3 exits. You said this is by far the one company you're most interested in. Why is that?
So my passion really kind of, if you saw a pattern in all of my startups, it's finding kind of an existing infrastructure that's huge and a human behavior that's natural, and finding a way to create an untapped opportunity there. So my first big startup was an undergrad at the University of Texas. By the way, my dad was a Rice professor, so I have the Rice connection there. And I did get into Rice, but got a full ride at Plan 2. So, but my first startup was a rideshare marketplace. Before Uber and Lyft, it had route matching, feedback rating system, and online payment system. I sold it to Zipcar, which was a car sharing company back then. And so, I think there was massive potential with what I was doing before, activating, this virtual fleet of cars. And, but there wasn't the timing was wrong because it was pre-iPhone, pre-Android. So connecting the rider and the driver at the right time in the right place really wasn't possible. I think what is most exciting about what I'm doing right now is it's similarly huge in my mind, in that we're taking this infrastructure of surfaces that has been around us within reach for eons, and we're bringing it to life digitally, and the timing is right this time because voice control is starting to plateau. Everything is really migrating to a digital platform. Borders and Barnes and Nobles has become Amazon and the Kindle, and the taxi cabs, back in the day that had a fleet of yellow cars has become Uber and a virtual fleet. And but if you look at these legacy, material companies, manufacturers of doors, of furniture, of particle board. You can't create a virtual door. You can't create a virtual chair. You need a door to block access. You need a chair to sit in. And so these, just looking at one vertical, doors, a door company sells a door for $1,000. After they sell it, all these other players are making money in that ecosystem. You have Ring, and you have smart locks, and you have other security systems. But for these door companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, to actually be able to create a platform that they put into their doors, and they can actually now create SaaS models. The same thing with furniture companies. So not only actively you create an interface, you can create a secret knock pattern to lock or unlock a door, but through our sensor system, you're also creating intelligence. You're knowing whether a door is open or closed, whether furniture is occupied, and you can tie all those analytics and intelligence to our integration platform. So we actually have an API and SDK that talks to a lot of smart devices. So based on events and states in the environment, someone opens a door, the porch light turns on, furniture is occupied, you do something else. But in addition, there are profound accessibility opportunities, literally augmenting the common light switch, turning regular furniture into a light switch that's always within reach and far more capable than that piece of wall acne. So.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jake. Really exciting to learn about haptic, and appreciate you sharing your vision for intelligent surfaces everywhere. It's super exciting, and we hope that it becomes a reality in short order. Thanks again for spending some time with us tonight.
My pleasure.
And with that, we are through our presentations. 8 really strong, incredible pitches here from our presenting companies. Now we're just going to ask for 2 to 3 minutes so that we can tally our scores, do any of our final adjudication and evaluation, and we'll be back before you know it to announce the winner. Everyone, give us a minute. Hello, everyone. Thank you again. We're excited to announce the winner. We've had a moment to go and tabulate the judging responses and ultimately have determined who our winner of this first semifinal round is, or not even our winner, who our top three are that are going to get the opportunity to pitch at the national finals in 2 weeks to win $45,000 in cash, and most importantly, to advance to the global final stage where $1 million in non-dilutive funding is available. And so with no further ado, it's my pleasure to announce the top three teams that will be advancing to the national finals. It is Haptic, Sonics Medical Devices, and Coherent. A huge virtual round of applause to all of our presenters, wonderful presentations. And as a reminder, all of these companies will be presenting at the semifinal, the semifinal round. Or they've won the semifinals and they'll be presenting at this upcoming national final event. Just to give you a quick reminder as to who the companies are. And I've lost my screen, but again, we have Sonics, Medical Devices, we have Coherent, and we have Haptic. And so congratulations to those teams. Really happy that they're here with us and looking forward to seeing them again next week or in 2 weeks at the U.S. National Finals. For our audience, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope that you sign up and attend our other semifinals events. We have an upcoming semifinal next week for the East Coast, an upcoming semifinal next week for the West Coast, and then all coming together in national finals, for this end event. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and can't wait to be back with another Entrepreneurship World Cup pitch event in a couple days.